Good morning and welcome back to When Pigs Fly. I am Patty and I'm joined by Tracy and Renee. Good morning, ladies.
Morning.
Morning.
It's good to see you. And we want to welcome back all of our subscribers and old and new. We love you for being here. This is your community. Please continue to like, subscribe, and share as you feel is your move to do so. And we want to remind you also to check out our community section on our YouTube channel. So you're going to scroll over, you'll see videos, you'll see the live, you'll see the podcast. Scroll over to the community tab because we will be putting some helpful resources in there for you. And we just wanted to point that out and make sure that you're aware of that. So today we've got a great subject for you. We're going to talk about why is this spiritual awakening happening? So for those of you that are saying, okay, I know there's more and I'm curious, but what the heck is going on around here? So I see some bright-eyed, smiling faces coming at me. Who would like to jump in on this one first?
Go ahead, Tracy, Rana.
Sure. Because I think we can talk about this from a lot of aspects and angles, and I'll start going in with the big one of, as we all know, everything is energy, magnetics, frequencies, vibration. That's what the world is made of. And I seem to like to simplify things as, they're mathematical formulas. Things are formulas, they're algorithms, and everything is ever changing. So as the energies of everything is changing, the earth energy is changing, the solar, the electromagnetics, by default, our entire world is shifting as well. And this comes down to a cellular level in our bodies. It comes down to the compilations of atoms that produce matter and things in our world. So that's a big concept to kind of wrap your head around, but you can kind of do it with baby steps of, okay, everything's changing. What can I do to help facilitate the change? And, it's that great comment, the only consistent thing ever is change. And I kind of, if I say some crazy stuff to people, which I often do, I have to say, you've heard of the word like evolution, right? It always is an interesting study to me of how people don't see how much historically we change very rapidly, and that they
Yeah,
think like this now moment. Well, no, this is how the world is. This is how life is. Yeah,
yeah,
no, but it keeps changing, right?
absolutely, Tracy. Yeah.
So it's just interesting. I like to look at things energetically, and my kind of sum it up statement is we've hit a point in this world that it is unsustainable and unattainable of what we have been trying to achieve and do as a collective. So everything is going to shift and change by default. And we could talk about that in a million topics. But I'll give the big heavy hitter, and then one of you can run, and then we'll talk more.
I love that. That was a really great, and that is the truth. We're all energy. And so, from my point of, shall I say, study, and I study every morning, and I know you guys know this. I'll hear a little topic from one of you, and I like to dive in on it. I love to drink from a fire hose. And for me, my biggest understanding of what is going on is absolutely that this is an evolution. And when did we think that man stopped evolving? What made us think that we stopped evolving? Now we're stuck in this pattern. We're not. And because some choose not to acknowledge that and look at it, that's where you're stuck in the fear and what we call the struggle bus. And the awakening is really a time when remembering that we're a soul in a body, our souls chose to be here during this time in evolution. And my understanding is that man exists physically for the sole purpose of developing spiritually. That's our expansion because we're a light body. We're becoming more of a light body. Our DNA is shifting, the earth is shifting, and like Tracy said, our energy is not separate. This is one energy. We have the power and the ability to guide it and to allow it. And there's no fear involved. The fear got in the way, and that's what got people thinking that they're, you know, oh no, I can't change. I need to hang on to this. And what is really happening now that we keep stressing, I'm going to say it again, is whatever you're trying to hold on to that you're afraid to let it change, it's going to be purged for you. It's going to be purged, and it can either be ugly or it can be, you know what, let me just feel it and then let it go, because on the other side of this is that you're going to learn the truth of you, which is that you have this beautiful gift of creation. You do have the ability to create. So I will stop at that one because Renee, I know you've got your own very amazing perspective on this one too.
I love it. I love what you both said. And I'll take it from another perspective, sort of, where we're all spiritual beings here to have a human experience. It's not the other way around. So many people are like, well, how do I navigate through? How do I do, like, I'm this human? No, you're not. I mean, it sounds crazy, but start to look at it from a perspective of, wait a minute, I'm a spiritual being. So this experience I'm having, it's all about evolving and growing and expanding. I mean, we've all looked at, and Tracy, you brought this up in one of the podcasts that, we're all evolving. Look at how much we've changed from, whatever, even 20 years ago, 50 years ago, whatever. Everything is changing. It's getting easier and easier and easier. Things that we've done before that, no longer are, because now it's so much easier. You can say, or you can think something and, there it is. But starting to recognize the spiritual being that you are, that's the one that's really sort of, in a sense, fighting the human element, saying, get out of the way, get out of your head, get out of that whole aspect so you can move forward and sort of embrace the change. Just instead of, getting stuck in that whole thing of, well, this is the way it should be, start to look at it from a point of view of like, well, what can be? What can be, or what else is coming? Because exactly what you both said, we're changing. This is the way it is. You can't possibly be stuck in the same place. And for those that don't want to change, okay, that's what you want. So maybe you're used to what I'm referring to as struggle. Maybe you're just like, hey, this is my life. Yeah, this is the way it is. If that's what you want to be, I'll tell you that's fine. However, it's going to get bigger and bigger and bigger, because everybody's here to experience their own things. Bottom line is, and what I've always been told is, bottom line is, we have to wake up as a spiritual being that we are, however we do that. So if you're very comfortable in this whole field of, nope, my life is okay, it's shit, and that's the way it's always been. And I had somebody say to me, did it ever occur to you, Renee, that, because you're so happy, I have to be miserable? And I was like, what? What kind of thinking is that? Like, no, that's not the way it is. But I know that that's a thought out there. And no matter how much I tried to say to that person, well, no, that's not the way it is. That's your perception. Let's start to shift it. And they were like, no, I don't want to shift it. That's how I know the world is. So I really want to say, sort of open yourself up to the possibility that there's something else, because I can guarantee you there is. And those that are suffering and saying, this is my life, this is the way it's always been, this is how my mother was, that's a pattern. That's a pattern, that's a program. And that's not the way it is. That's why everything is evolving, because we have to get out of that field. The world is not going to shift and change if we're continually focusing on, oh my God, everything's, separate, and the world's falling apart, and, the government is this, and, the world is this, and the healthcare. No, if you're complaining about that stuff, you're putting that same energy in. Stop and disconnect. And even if you're thinking that, as sometimes I'll say something, I'm like, okay, I'm canceling, replacing this as I say it with, with the opposite as I say it, because I don't want to put more energy into that. But I feel like I need to get, this whatever out. Start to do something. And even afterwards, when you're complaining with your friends at the water cooler or whatever it is, no, you've just magnified the energy to that. So if you see separation in the world, guess what? You've just put that in, and that's what you're going to continue to mirror to you. We're evolving to the point of saying, look at, and Patty, you've mentioned this, the eyes, the nose, ears, mouth, like everything, there's this whole shift coming in, and everybody's having these issues with all of this stuff that really are not issues at all. It's trying to get us to see a different way, to hear, to smell, to speak totally different than what the way we've done. And that's a huge component to this whole shift of changing into the new species that we're becoming,
Yeah,
right? Does it make sense?
100%. And we are being urged to feel. Get out of your thinking mind. We have not been using our brain, our thinking mind, in the way it was meant to be used. It is not meant to, you're not even accessing higher intelligence that's instantly available when you're not. And so, and I know for me, this was hard when I first heard drop into your heart. I didn't have access to I didn't have access to that. I was like, what does that mean? And I'd watch a room full of people meditating and they'd go drop into your heart. And I'm sitting there going, oh, I'm in my head. My head's going, what the fuck are we doing? And then, but you can't give up there. When the fact that you're curious enough to say, how can I drop into my heart means now that you're being curious about who's my soul, what does my soul want me to know? And this is a connection you want to make. And here's what I'll tell you. When I came to the awareness that, wait, I know that I can observe my thoughts. And I just asked myself, so who's that observer? Who's observing my thought? Who's the one saying that's a bad thought? Right? We all have this ability. And if you have to start there, like just go, okay, wait, all I need to do right now, and Tracy, I'd love to use the analogy of be a traffic cop for your thoughts. The traffic cop is your soul. And, that journey of saying, oh, I'm a soul having an experience in a physical body during an evolution. And just start easy with, okay, let me just observe my thoughts. Am I in judgment? Oh, okay. Let me judge that person going down the street right now because I'm going to amplify that shit and turn up the shit show. Or can you just go, you know what? Even if you see they're struggling, if they're pissing you off, whatever it is, say, you know what? That's another soul on their journey. And they chose that. They chose to experience that. But I prefer this. Uh, and you need to start thinking about what you prefer to create. What am I creating in this moment? So, Tracy, I know you've got something to jump in with.
So I heard something the other day that March and April, and we can talk about this probably in another podcast, is going to be, we're already in a great purge phase and we're going to start purging out. We were speaking of this early, a lot of manipulation, the control, the fear. And I had read someone say, you can either take a bath to let all of these limiting beliefs, old programs wash off for you, or you're going to get pressure hosed, power washed. So the reason I say that is because a lot of stuff is going to come up, whether it's aches and pains in the bodies, or you're going to see a lot of examples of how we've been manipulated and how we've been controlled. And now speaking to both of what you both said, because I know I'm fiery and I come right at you, but to be mindful of not feeding into that same energy, but coming from a place of absolutely not, I'm not engaging with that anymore. I'm not doing that anymore. And in times it might have to be a little more aggressive energy of, yeah, no, I'm not doing that. And I was kind of glancing down because I had wrote something the other day, and I'll just give you a snippet. It says, I'm not a bitch until you cross me. I come from a loving space and perspective unless you try and control me. I will listen and support you until you try to tell me what to do or what to think. I am extremely kind and giving person until you cross me in a knowingly manipulative and vindictive way. Mostly love and peace, but sometimes go fuck yourself. So, because I think that's important to put out right now, because you can be, I am so for humanity and so for the earth and, peace, love. Yes, yes, yes. And some days I had to do a little self-reflection and say, wow, you really not coming from that place right now. And then I said to myself, yes, I am, because I'm standing with such conviction that I'm not putting up with the manipulation, the control, the fear, that I'm going to bring a little aggression to the equation, because that's what's needed to say no more. So I just want to bring that into the mix, that it might feel a little hairy in the next few weeks or painful in your body, but to see it and embrace it of, all right, yep, bring it up because we're alchemizing this. I'm letting it go. Okay, great. Thank you for showing me what I'm not going to do anymore.
Yeah.
But I just want to put that out there because I know I always choose the path of, yeah, give it to me full force ahead. I'll take it. And then I'm in the middle of going, it sucks. I don't want it anymore, but, and
Yeah.
I'm talking about life experiences. Show me what I need to see that's not working, that's not real anymore. And you'll be shown, you will. And it might not be pleasant or pretty, but you can say, oh, I see you. Yeah, I'm not doing that anymore.
Mhm. No entanglement. Renee, you can speak to entanglement because especially you can see the energies.
Yeah. Yeah, it's thing like we get so entangled into things we don't even recognize it. That's the problem. Because when you stop and you look back and you say, okay, look at what's triggering me. This is triggering me for whatever reason. And okay, you know what? I don't want this to trigger me anymore. I don't want this. I don't want to show up this way anymore. The minute you make that decision, something shifts within your field. Okay, because I always say like the energy's there and you're creating the same stuff, whatever. But when you make a decision that goes against what you've always been, there is such a big energetic shift within your body. And it really does start to go in and uh, untangle, disconnect, certain energy fields that are in you. But what we don't recognize is that all of a sudden the pattern, the program comes forward and you start to say or think the stuff again because you're not aware that, wait a minute, I said I don't want to show up that way anymore. I said that that's not what I want. This person's triggering me. What's triggering me? What am I feeling about this? Like really asking yourself that component and saying, why am I feeling this? And it's really surprising how your body, your soul, whatever will answer you and do the whole thing. But what the healers, the angels, spirit guides, everybody's always saying is what we have to recognize now in this energy is when you recognize you're being, you have this entanglement or you're, creating something that you didn't want, or, you're aggravated. The minute you say or think that, I don't want this anymore. This isn't what I want to do. Immediately it shifts and it changes within our energy field.
Yeah.
It's up to us, the human being, to say, wait a minute, this is the program, this is whatever I'm doing. Let me feel it come back into you. How does this feel to me? When I just said that, if you can stop and take a second to really start to feel, and if you don't feel it, something will shift. There'll be like a knowing, there'll be a something like, wow, something just changed in me. And now I'm going to ask for help, whether it's asking for help from another human, asking for help from the spiritual realm. I'm going to ask for help to assist me in letting go of this, to assist me in moving into this new path, this new way of being. Because unless we're asking, the spiritual beings really can't help because of free will. And unless it's the same thing as unless you ask another human, they're not going to help. They're not going to just read your mind and say, oh, well, you need this. We have to use our human voice to say, look, I need help with this. Please recognize, or please tell me when I'm not recognizing that I'm talking in a tone that is demeaning or whatever it is. And it's that point of starting to recognize and know that, but we have to reach out to each other. We are one huge community of oneness, and the separation that's here is causing this big division. And people, I don't know, you two, but there's so many people out there talking about all the separation. Oh my God, the world's going crazy. This is happening. Yeah, but stop talking about it. Stop
Yeah.
talking about it, because we are feeding that energy. We're putting more of that out. So it's continually happening and continually being that way. And unless you start to say, okay, you know what? Yep, I see that. I'm seeing that. But guess what? In my reality, what I want to see is a world of oneness. And I know it sounds big and crazy and stupid, but here's the thing, that's when we can come in and say, okay, let's start to do that. Somebody has to ask, or it can't be done. So be aware of what you're saying, what you're thinking, when you're recognizing, whatever, my family, my whatever is saying this or doing this, and I'm going to tell them how to do it. No, 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 no. You're judging, and you can plant seeds and just say, listen, I see what you're doing. Do you recognize that, you're going down this path, that, you can do this, this, and this if you want, or just even saying, recognize you're going down that path. It's not something I would choose, but I'm going to honor you for that, because I'm going to let you have your path. But you can do this, this, and this if you choose. So you're giving them that choice. Don't direct them, because if you do that point and you say something that, okay, do this now instead, that person was supposed to experience something with the path they're going down. You gave them the option. Let them remember that option when it's ready. Because if they don't, and they're like, okay, well, you're forcing me to do this, so I'm going to do this. That thing that they were doing, it's going to magnify to them 100-fold. And if they don't get it then because you're forcing it, it's magnify again. And all of a sudden, it's this horrible, horrible situation that didn't have to be if you just sort of let them go onto that little path. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Absolutely it does. And it's, and you can have compassion. You can have compassion,
Yes.
but yeah, don't get on their struggle bus or don't try to pull them on yours, right? And I know that you mentioned something, and if this can help maybe tie it in again, this is my understanding. So we're giving three perspectives here because some of this will resonate with some of you and you may come back and listen again. So I think of our thoughts are like the electricity. And so we know that we can create, and that causes an amplified electricity. And then the emotions is the magnet.
Mm.
And so for me, I that's my conscious awareness. So, okay, I created that thought. Now, how do I want to magnify it? What's my state of being that I want? And like I learned early on to let go of material objects, vanity, because those are struggle bus items. And the reason you want those things is actually a state of being. So don't attach the feeling that you want to a trauma either. Attach to what do I want to create? If you are looking at, for example, a situation where you see poverty, you don't want to amplify that. So what do you want to focus on? I want abundance for all. Focus on that energy. What would that feel like? And what am I magnetizing in this moment? And that's how I play with the energy. Like that's how I play with the energy in my field. And Tracy, I'm sure you've got some secret sauce. Can you share?
Well, I was really thinking more how complex this really is because everyone's experience is so different. And Patty and Renee, they have clients that come to them that want answers, that want direction, want guidance. And I own businesses. So I'm out there living my passion and trying to provide service to the world or to my community. But I'm being regulated, in my opinion, I'm being regulated and potentially controlled by so many governmental agencies, all these bogus lawsuits. So it's funny because I have to show up energetically very different from them because I'm playing a completely different role. And I don't know why this example came up. I love to use real life examples. I'm getting sued for bed bugs at my resort in Georgia. And, as we all know, bed bugs are very prevalent right now. They travel with the travelers. The travelers are actually ones that bring them in the property. So I say, listen, every time someone checks into the resort, we can't like inspect their body and their luggage. Like, that would be super invasive.
Hose them
So
off.
yeah, so and we do. I will say that if we get some, we shut the unit down and we literally nuclear bomb it with toxic chemicals. So, and I kind of very said to the lawyer, basically, you're suing me for the actions of bugs. Like, what world have we come to? Like, if we could sue for every snake bite, not to sound negative, but I want to give you a perspective here. For me, I'm like, no, we actually do what we are mandated to do by regulation. We take toxic chemicals and we nuke bomb the unit. Now, my concern is the poor guest that checks in next. But our society does not think like I think. I think, well, wait a minute, we're using all these toxic chemicals to kill bugs so a human doesn't get bit. Are we have we totally lost our compass of what's do you see what I'm saying? Like there's such a perspective at play here of each situation and then each varying perspective and opinion. And you might be the one that loves chemicals and you're like, heck yeah, nuke the shit out of those bugs. I hate bed bugs. And more power to you. Like that's your reality, that's your life. But my perspective of I don't like, using all these man-made chemicals and killing nature and exposing someone to that. So do you see how complex it gets?
Yeah.
And I know I just threw a big boomerang into the mix, but I guess I'm saying it's not easy. And for everyone to have a maybe a compassion and just an awareness of how many perspectives there are. And in the realm of there is no right or wrong. Like we're all just trying to navigate and get through the day and do the best we can. And I guess I pulled the card of, yeah, you're going to take the really complex route that really gives you a brain jam every day of, my gosh, I don't really know how to think of this, right?
Yeah.
And that's just a good example. Bed bug. I don't know. Are you for the bed
Yeah.
bug or are you for the
Yeah.
toxic chemicals? I don't know. What do you
Well,
say?
and Tracy, by the way, I don't think this boomerang, there's a lot of these boomerangs going around, and thank you for bringing this up because, how many listening right now are picking a fight or picking a conflict that really isn't serving you? Because if you're in something doing one of these actions, n- you're shitting on yourself. If you are in a frivolous anything, a frivolous fight, a frivolous conflict, if you can't forgive and let it go, you're amplifying and it's mirrored back. And like Tracy's calling it a boomerang, it's almost like you don't even need to throw the boomerang anymore. Just save yourself the trouble and smack yourself in the head because that is how fast the energies and however hard you swing, it's actually hitting you twice as hard. That's exactly what's happening. And so, Tracy, you're bringing up a real life situation here. And there are many, 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 many examples of this going on. And we challenge any of you to say, wait, am I doing one of these actions right now that I can let go and replace it with what do you want to create? And okay, if you feel like you were wronged or whatever, but what reality do you want to create for yourself? Right?
Yeah.
Renee, anything to add here? Thank you for sharing that, Tracy, too, by the way, that these
Yeah.
boomerangs need to be seen because they're going to be they're a big light's about to be shown upon them.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And thank you for bringing that up, Tracy. And I think, possibly we can move this forward into that's happening for you. And how are you raising your vibration above that? Because that's hitting you right in the face and that's hitting your business in every aspect. So maybe the next thing should be how are we going to raising our vibration to really basically combat that?
I love it. That I love it.
Mhm.
Before we wrap up, because this will be good and none too, I have been saying for a while, okay, but you reap what you sow. Because believe it or not, unless you're coming at me, I'm like, listen, you do you, you think how you want to think. I am really, truly, I'm not going to try and talk you into anything. I just let me be me. And you do however you do it, and I will try and honor and respect it. But I got a lot coming at me daily. And then I've been saying, okay, but you're going to reap what you sow. You're going to reap what you sow. And daily, I get examples of, I'm just going to say it. Someone tripped on a green bean in my restaurant and decided to sue the shit out of us, workers' comp, liability, And I just heard yesterday how, and I don't, this is just a story too of how bad the life is going. And I have compassion and love, but you reap what you sow. You cannot constantly so, and that's not out of fear. That's just that's the energetics. It's kind of like listen, that's a
But you're
super no, that's raw and real. Those are the energies. And it's interesting how I always say to the universe, man, I don't ever seek out, well, what happened in their life? That I really am
no,
not interested.
no.
Go with love. But it's funny how I keep getting these stories back at me lately the past couple months. And I'm like, oh crap. And then I'm like, well, you reap what you sow.
Yeah. Or another way of saying that, what are you choosing to create?
Yep.
Really think about what are you choosing to create? Wow. Great, great. That was a quick 30 minutes. And I think we've got our next episode in mind already. So thank you so much. Again, thank you for listening. Don't forget to hit that subscribe and like button and share it with whomever you feel is ready to hear it. Love you, ladies, and I'll see you next episode. Bye.